The way winners think before they win. Think smarter, win bigger, and build lasting wealth. Introduction. Every great success has a beginning that most people never see. Long before the recognition, the wealth, the promotions, or the achievements, something far more important is taking shape, the way a person thinks. While many people believe that success belongs to the most talented, the luckiest, or the smartest, the truth is often much simpler. The greatest difference between ordinary people and extraordinary achievers is the quality of their thinking. Winning does not begin when you cross the finish line. It begins with the choices you make, the beliefs you hold, and the way you respond to challenges when no one is watching. The people who achieve lasting success learn to think differently before their circumstances change. They make better decisions, stay disciplined when motivation fades, recognize opportunities that others overlook, and focus on long-term value instead of short-term rewards. This book is about developing that way of thinking. In the pages ahead, you will explore the mental habits that help successful people make wiser decisions, manage their emotions, build strong discipline, recognize opportunities, develop a healthy relationship with money, and take consistent action toward meaningful goals. These are practical principles that can be applied in everyday life, no matter where you are starting from. As you read, keep an open mind. You do not have to become someone else to change your future. Sometimes the biggest transformation begins with a single new way of thinking. Change your mind first, and you may discover that the direction of your life changes with it. Chapter 1. The psychology behind every winner. Every victory begins with an invisible decision. Stand at the starting line of any remarkable achievement, and you will notice something surprising. There is nothing remarkable to see. No applause, no medals, no impressive bank account, no signs of success that others can admire. What exists instead is a way of thinking, a quiet mental shift that changes how a person views challenges, opportunities, and themselves. Long before success becomes visible in the outside world, it has already taken root in the mind. This hidden shift is what separates winners from everyone else. It is not that successful people never feel fear, doubt, or uncertainty. They do. The difference is that they refuse to let those emotions decide their future. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of looking for someone to blame, they look for the next step they can take. Their attention stays on solutions, progress, and possibilities rather than problems they cannot control. That way of thinking is known as winning psychology. It is not about pretending life is easy or believing that success happens overnight. It is about training your mind to respond in ways that move you forward, even when circumstances are difficult. People with this mindset understand that obstacles are part of the journey, not proof that they are on the wrong path. They see setbacks as feedback, mistakes as education, and challenges as opportunities to become stronger. Consider two co-workers who are passed over for the same promotion. One immediately concludes that the decision was unfair and begins to lose motivation. The other feels disappointed too, but chooses a different response. They ask their manager for feedback, identify areas for improvement, develop new skills, and prepare for the next opportunity. Months later, one remains frustrated while the other earns a better position. The difference was not intelligence or talent. It was the decision to respond with growth instead of defeat. This way of thinking gradually shapes something much deeper than temporary motivation. It shapes identity. Many people spend years chasing success without asking a simple question: who do I need to become to create the life I want? Goals are valuable because they give us direction, but identity determines the choices we make every single day. Imagine someone who wants to become physically healthy. If they continue telling themselves, "I'm just someone who never sticks to healthy habits," then every missed workout seems to confirm that belief. But when they begin seeing themselves as a person who values health, even small actions begin to feel natural. Choosing nutritious food, going for a walk, or getting enough sleep is no longer something they force themselves to do. It becomes part of who they believe they are. The same principle applies to success in every area of life. A person who believes they are responsible will naturally look for solutions. Someone who believes they are capable of learning will welcome new challenges. Someone who sees themselves as disciplined will continue taking action even when motivation disappears. Success is rarely the result of one extraordinary decision. It is usually the outcome of ordinary decisions, repeated by someone with the right identity. One inspiring example is Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. Before building a billion-dollar company, she faced rejection after rejection while trying to convince manufacturers to believe in her idea. Many people would have accepted those early setbacks as evidence that the idea was impossible. Blakely chose a different interpretation. She believed rejection was simply part of the learning process. Instead of allowing temporary failure to define her, she treated each obstacle as another step toward improvement. Her confidence did not come from guaranteed success. It came from believing she could continue learning until she found a way forward. That belief reflects what psychologists call a growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset assume that ability is something they are born with. If they struggle, they often conclude they are simply not talented enough. Because they fear failure, they avoid difficult situations that might expose their weaknesses. A growth mindset tells a different story. It recognizes that ability develops over time through learning, practice, and persistence. Skills are not permanent gifts reserved for a lucky few. They are built through consistent effort. A poor speaker can become an excellent communicator. Someone who struggles with money can learn sound financial habits. A beginner can become an expert by remaining curious and committed to improvement. This perspective changes the meaning of failure. Instead of seeing mistakes as proof of weakness, people begin to view them as information. Every challenge reveals something that still needs to be learned. Every setback highlights an opportunity to improve. As long as learning continues, progress remains possible. Gradually, these repeated choices begin to transform identity. You no longer rely on motivation because your actions reflect the person you believe yourself to be. Each promise you keep to yourself strengthens your confidence. Each difficult decision made with integrity reinforces your character. Small victories may seem insignificant on their own, but together they reshape the story you tell yourself. Real transformation is rarely dramatic. It happens quietly through consistent actions that align with a new identity. Day after day, those actions build stronger habits. Stronger habits shape better decisions. Better decisions produce better results. Eventually, the success that others admire becomes visible, but by then it is simply the natural outcome of months or years of invisible personal growth. Before you can change your circumstances, you must first change the lens through which you see yourself. The person you believe you are influences the decisions you make, and those decisions shape the future you create. That is why lasting success always begins within. In the next chapter, we will explore how winners think before making decisions and why a single thoughtful choice can change the course of an entire life. Chapter 2. Think before you move. The quality of your future depends on the quality of today's decisions. Life rarely changes because of one dramatic moment. More often, it changes because of the quiet choices we make each day. The decision to learn instead of complain. The decision to save instead of spend. The decision to stay calm instead of reacting in anger. These moments may seem small at the time, but they quietly shape the direction of our future. Success is not built by people who always make perfect decisions. It is built by people who learn to pause, think clearly, and choose wisely before they act. Many people confuse action with progress. They believe that moving quickly is always better than slowing down to think. But speed without direction often leads to wasted effort. Imagine setting out on a long road trip with no map or destination. Driving faster will not help if you are heading the wrong way. In the same way, making fast decisions without careful thought can push you further from the life you actually want. Successful people understand the value of strategic thinking. Before making an important choice, they create space between the situation and their response. They ask questions instead of making assumptions. They look beyond the immediate moment and consider where each option might lead. Rather than asking, "What feels good right now?" they ask, "What will serve me best in the long run?" This simple habit allows them to avoid many of the mistakes that come from acting on impulse. Emotions are a natural part of being human, but they are not always reliable guides. Excitement can tempt us into making promises we cannot keep. Fear can stop us from taking opportunities that could change our lives. Frustration can push us to say words we later wish we could take back. Decisions made in moments of intense emotion often solve today's discomfort while creating tomorrow's problems. Thoughtful decisions require patience. That does not mean overthinking every choice or waiting forever until all uncertainty disappears. It means giving yourself enough time to see the situation clearly. Sometimes the smartest decision is simply to sleep on an important choice, gather more information, or ask someone you trust for honest advice. A few extra hours of careful thinking can prevent years of unnecessary regret. One question can completely change the way you make decisions. How will this choice affect my life a year from now? Most people judge decisions by how they feel today. Winners judge them by the future they create. This shift in perspective changes everything. It becomes easier to turn down unnecessary spending when you picture the financial freedom you are working toward. It becomes easier to study after a long day when you think about the opportunities that knowledge will create. It becomes easier to have a difficult conversation when you value a healthy relationship more than temporary comfort. A thoughtful decision is not always the easiest one. In fact, the right choice often asks more of you in the present so that you can enjoy greater rewards in the future. This is why successful people become comfortable delaying immediate pleasure. They understand that lasting success is usually the result of choosing what matters most over what feels easiest. Consider the story of a young accountant named Daniel. After several years in a stable job, he received an offer from a fast-growing technology company. The new position promised exciting opportunities, but it also involved uncertainty and a temporary pay cut while the business expanded. Many friends encouraged him to stay where life felt safe. Instead of making a quick decision, Daniel spent several weeks researching the company, speaking with experienced professionals, studying the industry, and thinking about where he wanted his career to be in 10 years. His decision was based on careful preparation rather than fear or excitement. 5 years later, the company had grown rapidly, his responsibilities had expanded, and his income had more than doubled. Looking back, Daniel often said the most valuable part of that experience was not the opportunity itself, but learning to think beyond immediate comfort before making an important decision. Stories like this remind us that confidence is not something people magically possess before making difficult choices. Many believe they must feel completely certain before moving forward. In reality, certainty is rare. Confidence grows from preparation, thoughtful planning, and accepting responsibility for whatever happens next. People who wait until they feel fearless often remain stuck in the same place. Those who prepare carefully, make the best decision they can with the information available, and continue learning become more confident with each experience. Responsibility is another habit that separates thoughtful decision makers from everyone else. When a decision works out well, they are grateful. When it does not, they do not waste energy blaming circumstances or other people. Instead, they ask, "What can I learn from this?" This attitude transforms mistakes into valuable lessons and improves future decisions. Over time, good judgment is not inherited or discovered. It is developed through repeated cycles of thinking, deciding, learning, and improving. From this moment forward, begin treating every important decision as an investment in your future. Before choosing, pause long enough to imagine where that path might lead. Ask yourself whether today's comfort is worth tomorrow's cost, or whether a little patience today could create a much better life later. The future is shaped one decision at a time, and the choices you make today are already building the life you will live tomorrow. As you will discover in the next chapter, making wise decisions becomes even more powerful when they are guided by a clear and compelling vision of the future you truly want to create. Chapter 3. Build a vision bigger than today. People rarely rise above the future they imagine. Take a moment to picture a ship crossing the open ocean. The waves may be rough, the weather may change without warning, and the journey may take longer than expected. Yet as long as the captain knows the destination, every adjustment has a purpose. Without a destination, however, even calm waters cannot prevent the ship from drifting. Life works much the same way. The people who achieve meaningful success are rarely the ones with the easiest path. They are the ones who know where they are going. A clear vision is far more than a dream or a wish. It is a picture of the future that influences the choices you make today. It gives direction when life becomes confusing and provides a reason to keep moving when progress feels slow. Without a meaningful vision, it is easy to become distracted by temporary pleasures, unexpected problems, or the opinions of other people. Days become busy, but they do not always move you closer to the life you truly want. Many people spend years working hard without asking themselves an important question. What am I really building? They focus on getting through the week, paying the next bill, or solving today's problems. While those responsibilities matter, they should not become the only focus of life. When your attention stays locked on the present, you can lose sight of what is possible in the future. A strong vision lifts your eyes beyond today's circumstances and reminds you that your current situation is only one chapter, not the entire story. Building a meaningful vision begins with honesty. Instead of asking what other people expect from you, ask yourself what kind of life would truly bring you satisfaction. Success looks different for everyone. For one person, it may mean building a thriving business. For another, it may mean achieving financial freedom, raising a loving family, making a positive difference in the community, or creating work that leaves a lasting impact. The most powerful vision is one that reflects your own values rather than someone else's definition of success. Your vision should inspire you, but it should also feel believable enough to pursue. If it is too small, it will never challenge you to grow. If it feels completely disconnected from reality, it may be difficult to stay committed. The goal is to create a future that stretches your abilities while remaining possible through consistent effort. Great achievements often begin as bold ideas supported by practical action. Once your vision becomes clear, daily life starts to look different. Ordinary tasks gain new meaning because they become part of a larger journey. Reading one chapter of a book is no longer just reading, it becomes an investment in future knowledge. Saving a small amount of money is no longer just avoiding unnecessary spending. It becomes another step toward financial independence. Practicing a skill after work is no longer an inconvenience, it becomes preparation for future opportunities. A clear vision transforms routine actions into meaningful progress. This is why lasting success rarely comes from occasional bursts of motivation. Motivation rises and falls, but a compelling vision continues pulling you forward. Some days you will feel energetic, while other days you may feel tired or discouraged. When your actions are connected to something bigger than today's emotions, you continue moving even when enthusiasm fades. Progress may be slow, but it remains steady because your direction does not change. Purpose strengthens that commitment even further. Many people chase money, recognition, or status, believing these achievements alone will keep them motivated. While those rewards can be satisfying, they often lose their power once they are achieved. Purpose reaches deeper. It answers the question of why your work matters. When your efforts improve your family's future, help other people, solve meaningful problems, or allow you to become the person you aspire to be, challenges become easier to endure because they serve a greater reason. A powerful example of this is the journey of Colonel Harlan Sanders. For years he faced repeated setbacks while trying to build a successful business. His restaurant struggled, financial difficulties mounted, and many people rejected his idea of franchising his chicken recipe. He was well into his 60s before his vision finally began to take shape. What kept him moving was not the promise of quick success, but his belief that he had something valuable to offer. He continued refining his approach, meeting new people, and sharing his idea despite rejection after rejection. His long-term commitment eventually turned a simple vision into one of the world's most recognized restaurant brands. His story reminds us that a clear vision often survives obstacles that would discourage someone focused only on immediate results. People with a strong vision also develop positive expectations about the future. This does not mean they assume everything will work out perfectly. Instead, they believe their efforts will eventually produce meaningful results because they continue preparing, learning, adapting, and taking action. Their optimism is grounded in discipline rather than wishful thinking. They expect opportunities because they keep developing the skills needed to recognize and use them when they appear. This attitude creates resilience during difficult seasons. Temporary setbacks no longer feel like permanent failures because they are measured against a much larger timeline. One disappointing month cannot erase a meaningful vision built for years ahead. One obstacle becomes part of the journey rather than the end of it. People who stay focused on the bigger picture recover more quickly because they know exactly what they are working toward. As your vision becomes clearer, something remarkable begins to happen. You notice possibilities that once escaped your attention. Conversations, ideas, books, people, and experiences begin connecting with the future you have imagined. What once looked like ordinary events starts revealing hidden opportunities. That is one of the greatest advantages of knowing where you are going. People with a clear destination are far more likely to recognize the doors that can help them reach it, which is exactly what we will explore in the next chapter. Chapter 4. Seeing Opportunities. Others ignore. Opportunity rarely arrives wearing a name tag. Most people imagine opportunity as a perfect job offer, a brilliant business idea, or a lucky break that suddenly changes everything. In reality, opportunity is usually much quieter than that. It often appears disguised as a difficult problem, an unexpected change, an inconvenience, or a challenge that most people would rather avoid. While many wait for ideal conditions, successful people develop the ability to notice possibilities that others overlook. This difference begins with the way they observe the world. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" they become curious enough to ask, "What could come from this?" That simple change in perspective opens doors that remain invisible to people who only focus on obstacles. The world is constantly changing, creating new needs, new problems, and new possibilities. Those who learn to recognize these changes are often the first to discover valuable opportunities. Opportunity recognition is not a gift reserved for a lucky few. It is a skill that anyone can develop. Like any skill, it improves with practice. It begins by becoming more curious about everyday life. Curious people pay attention. They notice what frustrates others, what wastes time, what could be improved, and what people wish existed. Instead of accepting things as they are, they naturally wonder if there is a better way. One of the easiest ways to strengthen this skill is by asking better questions. Rather than complaining about an inconvenience, ask yourself why it exists. Instead of assuming something cannot be improved, ask what would make it easier, faster, simpler, or more enjoyable. Every useful question trains your mind to look beyond the obvious. Over time, your attention shifts away from limitations and toward possibilities. Successful people also understand that opportunity is closely connected to value. The more value you create for other people, the more opportunities you create for yourself. Whether you are building a business, advancing your career, or improving your community, your success depends on your ability to make life better for someone else. This is why people who constantly search for ways to help, improve, or solve problems often discover opportunities long before everyone else. An opportunity mindset is different from simply hoping something good will happen. It is the belief that opportunities can be created through initiative and action. Instead of waiting for permission, successful people begin experimenting. They test ideas, learn from feedback, make adjustments, and keep improving. They understand that many opportunities only become visible after the first step has been taken. Consider how many successful businesses began by solving ordinary problems. Food delivery services grew because people wanted convenience. Online education expanded because people wanted flexible learning. Digital payment systems became popular because they made transactions faster and easier. None of these ideas appeared out of thin air. They were created by people who paid attention to everyday frustrations and saw possibilities where others saw routine inconveniences. This way of thinking naturally leads to one of the greatest competitive advantages anyone can develop: problem solving. Every organization, business and community values people who can solve meaningful problems. The larger the problem you help solve, the greater the value you often create. Instead of asking, "Why is this so difficult?" winners ask, "How can I improve this?" They understand that complaining rarely changes anything, but solving problems creates trust, respect, and opportunity. This approach applies far beyond business. A teacher who finds better ways to help struggling students becomes more valuable. An employee who consistently improves workplace processes earns greater responsibility. A freelancer who delivers creative solutions instead of simply completing tasks builds stronger relationships with clients. Success grows when people become known for making things better rather than pointing out what is wrong. A powerful example of this mindset can be seen in the story of Melanie Perkins, the co-founder of Canva. While teaching design software to students, she noticed that many found existing programs difficult and frustrating to use. Most people accepted this as normal, but Perkins saw it as an opportunity. She imagined a design platform that anyone could use without extensive training. The journey was far from easy. She faced repeated rejection from investors and spent years refining her idea before it gained support. Today, Canva is used by millions of people around the world because she recognized a problem that others had learnt to tolerate and transformed it into a simple solution. Stories like hers remind us that opportunities are often hidden inside everyday experiences. The challenge is not finding them, but learning to notice them. That requires paying close attention to the people around you, staying curious about changing trends, and remaining willing to explore ideas that others dismiss too quickly. Adaptability plays an equally important role. The world changes faster than ever before. New technologies emerge, industries evolve, customer needs shift, and unexpected events reshape entire markets. People who resist change often spend their energy trying to preserve the past. Successful people do something different. They remain flexible, continue learning, and adjust their approach without losing their sense of purpose. They understand that adapting is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom. Being adaptable does not mean abandoning your goals whenever circumstances change. It means being willing to find a better route when the original path becomes blocked. A traveler who encounters a closed road does not give up on reaching the destination. They simply take another route. The same principle applies to success. Those who adjust quickly often discover opportunities hidden within change itself. As you move through your own journey, remember that opportunities are rarely announced in advance. They are quietly waiting inside unanswered questions, unsolved problems, changing circumstances, and everyday conversations. The people who benefit from them are not necessarily the smartest or the luckiest. They are the ones who have trained themselves to notice what others ignore. A prepared mind sees possibilities where others see obstacles, and that inner readiness becomes even more valuable when it is supported by the emotional strength to face uncertainty with confidence, which is where our journey turns next. Chapter 5. Winning the battle inside your mind. Your greatest competition lives between your ears. Long before life tests your abilities, it tests your thoughts. The conversations you have with yourself shape the way you approach challenges, respond to setbacks, and pursue your goals. Two people can face the same difficult situation and walk away with completely different outcomes, not because one is more talented than the other, but because one believes there is still a way forward, while the other has already decided to give up. The battle that matters most is rarely fought against other people. It is fought inside your own mind. One of the strongest forces behind lasting success is self-belief. This does not mean believing that everything will always work out perfectly or convincing yourself that you can do anything without preparation. Real self-belief is much more practical than that. It is the quiet confidence that you can learn, improve, adapt, and keep moving forward, no matter what challenges appear. It grows from experience, not imagination. Many people wait to feel confident before they take action. They tell themselves they will speak up once they feel ready, apply for the opportunity when fear disappears, or start the business after gaining complete confidence. The problem is that confidence rarely comes first. It usually arrives after action has been taken. Every small promise you keep to yourself, every difficult conversation you handle, and every challenge you face adds another piece to your confidence. Over time, those experiences become evidence that you are capable of handling more than you once believed. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Reading books about balance can help, but confidence only appears after getting on the bicycle, wobbling a few times, falling occasionally, and eventually learning how to stay upright. Life follows the same pattern. Action creates experience, experience builds confidence, and confidence encourages even greater action. Alongside self-belief comes another important quality: mental toughness. This is often misunderstood as being emotionally cold or pretending that nothing bothers you. In reality, mentally strong people experience fear, disappointment, stress, and criticism, just like everyone else. The difference is that they do not allow those emotions to control their behavior. They acknowledge what they feel without becoming trapped by it. Pressure has a way of revealing how people respond under difficult circumstances. Some panic, become overwhelmed, or make decisions they later regret. Others remain steady enough to think clearly, even when the situation is uncomfortable. Mental toughness is the ability to stay committed to your values and goals despite uncertainty. It means continuing to do what is necessary, even when it is not easy. One of the most valuable skills you can develop is emotional control. Strong emotions are not the enemy. They provide useful information about what matters to us. The problem begins when emotions become the only guide for our actions. Anger can damage relationships in a few careless words. Frustration can cause people to abandon projects that were close to succeeding. Anxiety can convince someone to avoid opportunities that could improve their life. Emotional control begins with a simple habit: creating a pause between what happens and how you respond. Instead of reacting immediately, give yourself a moment to breathe, observe your emotions, and ask what response will truly improve the situation. That brief pause often prevents decisions that would otherwise create unnecessary problems. Imagine receiving harsh criticism at work. Your first reaction may be to defend yourself or respond emotionally, but by taking a few moments to listen carefully, consider the feedback, and respond respectfully, you create a completely different outcome. You protect your relationships, learn something valuable, and demonstrate maturity under pressure. Calm responses often accomplish far more than emotional reactions. Another practical way to strengthen emotional control is to pay attention to your physical state. Lack of sleep, constant stress, and exhaustion make it much harder to think clearly. Taking care of your health is not only good for your body, it also improves your ability to remain patient, focused, and emotionally balanced when life becomes demanding. No matter how mentally strong you become, setbacks will still happen, plans will fail, people will disappoint you, mistakes will be made. What separates successful people is not the absence of these experiences, but the way they recover from them. This quality is known as resilience. Resilience is the ability to stand back up after life knocks you down. It is not about pretending failure does not hurt. It is about refusing to let one difficult chapter define the entire story. Resilient people understand that disappointment is temporary. They ask what can be learned, adjust where necessary, and continue moving forward with greater wisdom. A powerful example is the journey of J.K. Rowling. Before the Harry Potter series became one of the most successful publishing stories in history, she faced financial hardship, personal struggles, and repeated rejection from publishers. Many people would have accepted those rejections as proof that their dream was unrealistic. Rowling continued believing in her work, improved where she could, and kept submitting her manuscript until someone finally recognized its value. Her success was not built on perfect circumstances. It was built on self-belief, emotional resilience, and the determination to keep going when giving up would have been easier. Stories like hers remind us that setbacks are not signs to stop. They are invitations to become stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the opportunities ahead. Every challenge overcome increases your ability to handle the next one with greater confidence and composure. As you continue building the mindset of a winner, remember that the strongest person is not always the most talented, the wealthiest, or the most experienced. It is often the person who has learned to guide their thoughts instead of being controlled by them. When you master your emotions, strengthen your resilience, and continue believing in your ability to grow through life's challenges, you achieve a victory that no one can take away. That inner strength becomes the foundation for something equally important, the daily habits that quietly shape extraordinary success. Chapter 6. Small habits that create extraordinary results. Your daily routine quietly predicts your future. If someone watched your average day without hearing your goals, they could probably make a surprisingly accurate guess about where your life is heading. That is because success is rarely built by dramatic moments. It is built by the ordinary choices you repeat so often that they become part of your everyday routine. While people often search for the one breakthrough that will change everything, lasting success usually grows from small habits that seem almost too simple to matter. Think of a tree growing in a forest. You cannot see it becoming taller from one day to the next, yet year after year it becomes stronger because of countless small moments of growth. Our habits work in much the same way. A single healthy meal will not transform your body, just as one workout will not make you fit. Reading 10 pages of a good book will not instantly make you an expert. Saving a small amount of money one time will not create financial freedom. Yet when these actions are repeated consistently, they produce results that once seemed impossible. This is one of the most overlooked truths about successful people. They rarely rely on extraordinary effort. Instead, they build ordinary routines that make success more likely. They understand that habits shape performance, because habits shape how time is spent. What you repeatedly do eventually becomes what you repeatedly achieve. One reason habits are so powerful is that they reduce the need for motivation. Motivation is helpful, but it is also unpredictable. Some mornings you wake up feeling energetic and determined. Other days you feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. If your progress depends entirely on how inspired you feel, your results will always be inconsistent. Winning habits solve this problem by making positive actions automatic. You do not argue with yourself about whether to brush your teeth every morning, because it has become part of your routine. In the same way, successful people build routines that remove unnecessary decision-making. They schedule time to exercise, read, learn new skills, review their finances, or work on important projects because these activities have become normal parts of their day. Action happens because the habit already exists, not because motivation suddenly appears. Creating habits like these requires self-discipline, a quality that is often misunderstood. Many people think discipline is about restriction or giving up enjoyment. In reality, discipline creates freedom. It gives you the freedom to control your choices instead of allowing distractions to control them. It gives you the freedom to build financial security instead of living with constant stress. It gives you the freedom to improve your health, strengthen your skills, and create opportunities that would never appear without consistent effort. Imagine two people finishing work at the end of a long day. One spends the evening scrolling endlessly through social media because it feels easy and relaxing. The other spends 30 minutes learning a valuable new skill before relaxing. Neither evening seems life-changing on its own, But after 1 year, those small differences begin to separate their futures. One person has gained hundreds of hours of new knowledge, while the other is left wondering where the time went. Discipline quietly creates possibilities that impulsive living rarely provides. Another important principle is consistent execution. Many people enjoy learning. They read books, attend seminars, watch educational videos, and collect inspiring ideas. Learning is valuable, but knowledge alone changes nothing. Information becomes powerful only when it is put into practice. A person who knows how to manage money but never saves will not become financially secure. Someone who understands fitness but never exercises will not become healthier. Success belongs to those who consistently apply what they know. Small actions often seem insignificant because their rewards are delayed. Missing one workout feels harmless. Skipping 1 day of practice seems unimportant. Ignoring one opportunity to save money appears to make little difference. Yet habits never exist in isolation. They accumulate over time. Just as interest compounds in a savings account, daily actions compound in every area of life. Positive habits build momentum, while negative habits quietly create problems that only become obvious months or years later. A simple example of this principle can be seen in the story of Darren Hardy, who has often shared how small daily improvements transformed his career. Early in his professional life, he focused on reading for a short time every day, building productive routines, and consistently applying what he learnt instead of searching for overnight success. Those modest daily practices strengthened his knowledge, improved his communication, and expanded his opportunities year after year. Looking back, there was no single moment that changed everything. The transformation came from thousands of ordinary actions repeated with consistency. The encouraging truth is that you do not need to change your entire life overnight. Lasting improvement usually begins with one habit that is small enough to repeat every day. Read a few pages, save a little money, practice one important skill, wake up slightly earlier, spend a few minutes planning tomorrow instead of reacting to it. These actions may appear insignificant today, but they quietly reshape your future with every repetition. As you move forward, remember that success is not built through occasional moments of greatness. It is built through ordinary habits practiced with extraordinary consistency. The life you dream about is created by what you repeatedly do when no one is watching. Build the right habits, protect them patiently, and allow time to multiply their results. In the next chapter, you will discover why the ability to wait for greater rewards and to take thoughtful risks when the time is right can become one of the greatest advantages on the journey to lasting success. Chapter 7. Why successful people wait for bigger rewards. The hardest word in success is later. Modern life constantly encourages us to choose what feels good now. We can order food in minutes, stream endless entertainment instantly, and buy things with a single click. Convenience has become a normal part of everyday life, but it has also made patience much harder to practice. Many of the things that truly improve our lives, however, refuse to happen overnight. Strong careers, financial security, meaningful relationships, and lasting success all ask the same question: are you willing to wait for something better? One of the clearest differences between high achievers and everyone else is their ability to delay gratification. This simply means choosing a greater reward in the future instead of a smaller reward in the present. It sounds simple, yet it influences almost every important area of life. Saving money instead of spending it immediately, studying while others are relaxing, building a business before enjoying the profits, learning valuable skills before expecting higher income. These choices are rarely exciting in the moment, but they create opportunities that short-term thinking never can. Many people underestimate the power of delayed gratification because the rewards are invisible at first. When you decide not to buy something unnecessary, your financial future does not suddenly change. When you spend an evening improving your skills instead of watching television, your career does not immediately improve. The benefits appear slowly. That is exactly why so many people give up too early. They mistake delayed results for a lack of progress. Successful people understand that meaningful achievements need time to grow. They do not expect a seed planted today to become a tree tomorrow. Instead, they focus on consistent care while trusting the process. Whether they are building a company, investing money, writing a book, or developing expertise, they accept that worthwhile goals require patience. They measure progress over months and years, rather than days and weeks. Strategic patience should never be confused with doing nothing. Waiting without action leads nowhere. Strategic patience means continuing to work steadily while allowing time to multiply your efforts. A skilled farmer cannot force crops to grow faster, but they can prepare the soil, plant carefully, remove weeds and provide water. In the same way, successful people focus on the actions they can control while remaining patient about the results they cannot control. Impatience often creates unnecessary mistakes. Someone eager to become wealthy may chase risky investments without understanding them. A new entrepreneur may expand too quickly before the business is ready. A professional may leave a valuable opportunity simply because progress feels slower than expected. In many cases, the problem is not a lack of ability, but a lack of patience. Patience becomes even more valuable when combined with intelligent risk-taking. Many people assume successful individuals are fearless risk-takers who simply trust their instincts. The truth is usually very different. Winners rarely gamble with their future. Instead, they take calculated risks. Before making an important move, they gather information, study possible outcomes, prepare for challenges, and consider what they might lose as well as what they might gain. There is an important difference between reckless risk and calculated risk. Reckless risk depends on hope. It ignores warning signs and assumes everything will somehow work out. Calculated risk is built on preparation. It accepts uncertainty, but reduces unnecessary danger through careful planning and informed decisions. Successful people know that no opportunity comes with complete certainty, but they also know that preparation greatly improves the chances of success. This way of thinking naturally leads to another important habit, thinking like an investor rather than a consumer. Consumers usually ask, "What do I want today?" Investors ask, "What will create greater value tomorrow?" This mindset extends far beyond money. You invest your time by learning new skills. You invest your attention by focusing on meaningful work instead of endless distractions. You invest your energy by strengthening relationships that enrich your life. You invest your money in ways that can grow instead of disappear. Over time, these investments begin producing results that seem surprising to others. While many people chase immediate pleasure, investors quietly build assets that continue rewarding them for years. The difference is not always income or intelligence. It is the willingness to exchange temporary satisfaction for lasting value. A powerful example of this approach can be seen in the career of Warren Buffett. Although he is widely known for his extraordinary wealth, one of his greatest strengths has always been patience. Rather than chasing every new trend or making emotional investment decisions, Buffett has consistently focused on businesses he understands, invested for the long term, and allowed time to work in his favor. His success did not come from making hundreds of dramatic decisions. It came from making a smaller number of thoughtful decisions and giving those decisions years to grow. His story reminds us that patience is not passive, it is a strategy. The same principle can improve everyday life. Imagine two friends who receive the same annual bonus. One spends it immediately on short-lived pleasures. The other invests part of it in learning a valuable skill, saves another portion for future opportunities, and uses the rest wisely. At first, their choices seem equally reasonable. Years later, however, one has built greater financial security, stronger earning potential, and more freedom. The difference was created by how they viewed today's resources, not as something to consume immediately, but as something capable of creating tomorrow's opportunities. The greatest rewards in life rarely belong to those who demand instant results. They belong to those who are willing to prepare carefully, remain patient when progress is slow, and act wisely when the right opportunity appears. When others are distracted by immediate comfort, successful people continue building a future that is worth waiting for. In the next chapter, you will discover how protecting your focus and directing your attention toward what truly matters allows all of these principles to produce extraordinary results. Chapter 8. Protecting your most valuable asset. What you focus on eventually shapes your life. Most people believe their most valuable resource is money. Others think it is talent, education, or opportunity. While all of these are important, there is something even more valuable that every person receives in equal measure each day: attention. Where you choose to direct your attention determines how you spend your time, what you learn, the quality of your work, and ultimately the direction of your life. Money can be earned again after it is lost. Time and attention cannot. Think about how many things compete for your focus every day. A notification appears on your phone, an email arrives, a social media app promises just a few minutes of entertainment that quietly turns into half an hour. News headlines demand your attention, messages interrupt your work, and countless distractions fill the spaces between important tasks. None of these interruptions seem significant on their own, but together they slowly steal hours that could have been invested in building a better future. Successful people understand that attention is limited. They know that saying yes to one thing automatically means saying no to something else. Every hour spent on activities that add little value is an hour that cannot be used for learning, creating, improving, or solving meaningful problems. This is why high achievers are careful about what they allow into their daily lives. They treat their attention like an investment instead of something to be given away freely. One of the biggest challenges of modern life is not a lack of information but an overwhelming amount of it. We have access to more knowledge than any generation before us, yet many people struggle to make meaningful progress because they consume far more information than they apply. Constant input leaves little room for deep thinking. Instead of moving forward, they become trapped in an endless cycle of reading, watching, scrolling, and reacting. Distractions quietly affect more than productivity. They reduce the quality of your thinking. Every interruption forces your brain to switch between tasks, making it harder to concentrate and easier to make mistakes. Even after returning to your work, it often takes several minutes to regain the same level of focus. A day filled with interruptions may feel busy, but busyness should never be confused with meaningful progress. Improving your focus begins with choosing clear priorities. At the start of each day, ask yourself what single task would make the biggest difference if completed well. Instead of trying to accomplish everything at once, give your full attention to what matters most. When priorities are clear, decisions become easier because you know what deserves your energy and what can wait. Protecting your most productive hours is equally important. Most people have certain times of the day when their minds are naturally sharper and more creative. Some think best early in the morning, while others perform better later in the day. Instead of using those valuable hours on routine tasks or endless meetings, successful people reserve them for work that requires deep concentration. They understand that their highest quality thinking should be spent on their highest value activities. This is one reason multitasking is often misunderstood. It may feel productive to answer messages while working on a project or switch constantly between different tasks. But research and experience show that dividing attention usually reduces the quality of everything we do. Deep focus allows us to solve more complex problems, notice better ideas, and complete important work more efficiently. Finishing one meaningful task is often far more valuable than making small amounts of progress on several unrelated ones. Focus also changes the way we think about productivity. Many people measure a successful day by how busy they were. They answer emails, attend meetings, complete small tasks, and stay active from morning until evening. Yet at the end of the day, they wonder why they are no closer to their biggest goals. True productivity is not about doing more things. It is about doing more of the right things. Successful people regularly pause to ask themselves a simple but powerful question. Is what I'm doing right now moving me closer to the future I want? That question creates clarity. It encourages them to spend less time on activities that simply fill the day and more time on work that creates lasting value. Sometimes the most productive decision is not adding another task, but removing one that no longer matters. Another principle that separates high performers is time leverage. They understand that not every hour produces the same value. Instead of trying to work longer, they look for ways to make each hour more effective. They plan their days before distractions appear. They automate repetitive tasks whenever possible. They delegate work that others can do well. Most importantly, they continue learning skills that increase the value of their future efforts. A single improvement in knowledge or systems can save hundreds of hours over time. A good example is an independent graphic designer named Maya. Early in her career, she accepted every request immediately, kept notifications turned on throughout the day, and switched constantly between client messages and design work. Although she worked long hours, she struggled to complete projects on time. Eventually, she made a simple change. She silenced notifications while working, scheduled specific times to answer emails, and dedicated her first 2 hours each morning to uninterrupted creative work. Within a few months, the quality of her designs improved. She completed projects more quickly, and she was able to take on higher-paying clients without working longer days. Her success did not come from working harder. It came from protecting her attention. When focus becomes a habit, something remarkable happens. Work improves, learning accelerates, decisions become clearer, and energy is directed toward what truly matters. This is where peak performance begins. It is not the result of endless hours, constant pressure, or exhausting yourself every day. Peak performance grows from working with clarity, intention, and purpose while protecting the attention that makes excellent work possible. The future you create will always reflect what receives the best of your attention today. Those who learn to protect their focus gain far more than greater productivity. They gain greater control over their lives. When you decide where your attention belongs, instead of allowing the world to decide for you, you begin shaping your future with intention. That mindset naturally leads to the next step on the journey, taking complete responsibility for the life you choose to build. Chapter 9. Take ownership of everything. The moment you stop blaming others is the moment your life begins to change. There is a powerful shift that separates people who remain stuck from those who continue moving forward. It happens when they stop asking, "Whose fault is this?" and begin asking, "What can I do about it?" That single change in perspective can transform careers, relationships, finances, and personal growth. While we cannot control everything that happens to us, we always have control over how we respond. That is where real power begins. Life is not always fair. People will disappoint you. Unexpected problems will appear. Opportunities may be missed, and circumstances may sometimes seem beyond your control. It is easy to point to bad luck, difficult people, or unfortunate events as the reasons life has not gone as planned. Sometimes those reasons are even true, but even when they are true, they rarely improve the situation. Blame may explain why something happened, but it almost never helps create a better future. Successful people understand this better than most. They refuse to waste valuable energy focusing on what they cannot change. Instead, they direct their attention toward the things they can influence. They ask themselves what they can learn, what they can improve, and what action they can take next. This habit keeps them moving while others remain trapped in frustration. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong. It is not about carrying unnecessary guilt or pretending you caused every problem. It simply means accepting ownership of your response. Responsibility gives you something blame never can, the ability to change your direction. The moment you accept that your future depends largely on the choices you make today, you also gain the freedom to create a different tomorrow. This mindset becomes especially important during difficult seasons. Imagine losing a job because a company reduces its workforce. You may have done nothing wrong, yet the situation still affects your life. One person might spend months criticizing the company, replaying the disappointment, and waiting for circumstances to improve. Another person acknowledges the setback, updates their skills, expands their professional network, and begins searching for new opportunities. The event was the same, but the response was completely different. One response keeps a person stuck in the past, the other creates momentum toward the future. There is another benefit to taking ownership that many people overlook. Responsibility builds confidence. At first this may seem surprising because confidence is often associated with success, praise, or achievement. In reality, confidence grows whenever you prove to yourself that you can take action instead of waiting for someone else to solve your problems. Many people believe they need confidence before they begin something difficult. They wait until they feel ready to apply for a new position, start a business, speak in public, or learn a valuable skill. Unfortunately, that perfect moment rarely arrives. Confidence is not a requirement for action. It is often the reward for action. Think back to the first time you learned something challenging. Whether it was driving a car, giving a presentation, or learning a new technology, you probably did not feel completely confident at the beginning. Your confidence increased because you practiced, made mistakes, adjusted your approach, and gradually became more capable. Every action became evidence that you could handle more than you first believed. This is why waiting to feel fearless often delays progress. The people who accomplish meaningful goals are usually willing to begin while they still have doubts. They trust that experience will teach them what confidence alone never could. Small actions repeated over time create stronger belief than positive thinking ever will. As responsibility grows, so does self-mastery. Many people spend years trying to control other people, hoping friends, family members, co-workers, or circumstances will finally behave the way they want. This is a frustrating way to live because so much of life remains outside our control. True success comes from mastering the one person you always influence most: yourself. Self-mastery means learning to guide your thoughts instead of allowing them to guide you. It means choosing your responses instead of reacting automatically. It means following your values even when doing so requires effort. A person who can consistently direct their own behavior becomes far more effective than someone who constantly tries to change everyone around them. This is also where high-performance thinking begins. Top performers ask different questions than average performers. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can this teach me?" Instead of wondering whether something is possible, they ask what skills, knowledge, or effort would make it possible. They set high personal standards, not because someone else demands it, but because they expect excellence from themselves. They welcome accountability because feedback helps them improve rather than threatens their confidence. A simple example is the story of Marcus, a sales representative whose results consistently ranked near the bottom of his company. For years he blamed the economy, difficult customers, and weak marketing for his poor performance. Eventually, a mentor challenged him to stop looking outward and start examining what he could improve. Marcus began recording his sales conversations, studying experienced colleagues, practicing his communication skills, and reviewing his own mistakes after each meeting. Within a year, he became one of the company's top performers. The market had not changed dramatically. His customers had not become easier. What changed was his willingness to accept responsibility for the one factor he could truly improve: himself. That lesson applies to every area of life. Responsibility is not a burden that limits your freedom. It is the foundation that creates it. The more ownership you take, the more influence you gain over your future. Your circumstances may shape your starting point, but your responses shape where you go from there. The greatest source of personal power has never been perfect conditions, extraordinary talent, or endless opportunities. It has always been the decision to take complete responsibility for your own future. When you stop waiting for life to change and begin changing the way you respond to life, you place yourself back in control of your journey. And once you take ownership of your growth, the next step becomes clear: continuing to learn, improve, and expand your potential for the rest of your life. Chapter 10. Learn faster than the world changes. The fastest learner often becomes the biggest winner. The world you live in today is changing faster than at any other time in history. New technologies appear almost overnight. Industries evolve, careers transform, and skills that were valuable a decade ago may no longer be enough. In a world that refuses to stand still, one ability becomes more valuable than almost any other: the ability to keep learning. Those who continue to grow continue to create opportunities, while those who stop learning often find themselves struggling to keep up. Many people think education ends when they leave school or earn a degree. In reality, formal education is only the beginning. Schools teach important foundations, but life constantly presents new lessons that no classroom can fully prepare you for. The people who continue reading, asking questions, improving their skills, and exploring new ideas are the ones who remain valuable no matter how much the world changes around them. One quality appears again and again in successful people from every profession: curiosity. Curious people are never satisfied with knowing only enough to get by. They naturally want to understand how things work, why people behave the way they do, and how problems can be solved more effectively. Instead of pretending they have all the answers, they remain comfortable asking thoughtful questions. Curiosity is powerful because it keeps the mind open. The moment people believe they already know everything they need to know, they stop growing. New ideas are ignored, useful feedback is rejected, and valuable opportunities quietly pass them by. On the other hand, people who remain curious continue discovering better ways of thinking, working, communicating, and creating value. This willingness to learn often begins with simple habits. Reading books exposes you to ideas collected from years of experience. Listening carefully to people with different perspectives expands your understanding. Seeking honest feedback helps you identify blind spots you may never notice on your own. Learning a new skill stretches your thinking and prepares you for opportunities that have not yet appeared. None of these habits produces dramatic results overnight, but together they gradually transform the way you see the world. Continuous learning also improves the quality of your decisions. The more knowledge and experience you gain, the more information you have available when facing important choices. A business owner who understands finance makes wiser investment decisions. A leader who studies communication builds stronger relationships. Someone who learns about health makes better lifestyle choices. Knowledge does not remove uncertainty, but it gives you a stronger foundation for making thoughtful decisions when uncertainty appears. Learning also strengthens confidence in a unique way. Real confidence does not come from believing you know everything. It comes from trusting your ability to learn whatever you need to learn. This mindset removes much of the fear surrounding new challenges. Instead of worrying about what you do not know today, you become excited about what you are capable of discovering tomorrow. Another important benefit of continuous learning is adaptability. Careers change, markets evolve, customer expectations shift. Technology creates new opportunities while replacing old methods. People who continue learning adapt much more easily because they are already accustomed to developing new skills. Rather than resisting change, they view it as another chance to grow. This adaptability naturally creates better leadership as well. Great leaders understand that learning never stops, regardless of experience or position. They ask thoughtful questions, listen carefully, welcome new ideas, and encourage others to grow alongside them. Their willingness to learn earns trust because people recognize humility instead of arrogance. Strong leaders do not claim to know everything. They remain committed to improving every day. Learning also increases your financial opportunities. Every valuable skill you develop makes you more useful to employers, clients, customers, or business partners. The marketplace rewards people who solve problems effectively, communicate clearly, think creatively, and continue improving their abilities. As your knowledge grows, so does your ability to create value, and value often leads to greater income and opportunity. A powerful example is the story of Satya Nadella. Throughout his career, Nadella became known for his commitment to continuous learning and intellectual curiosity. Rather than relying only on past successes, he consistently explored new technologies, listened to different viewpoints, and encouraged a culture of learning within his organization. When he became CEO, that mindset helped transform Microsoft into one of the world's most valuable companies by embracing innovation instead of resisting change. His example shows that lifelong learning is not just a personal habit. It can reshape organizations and create extraordinary opportunities. Perhaps the greatest benefit of continuous learning is that it changes the way you measure success. Instead of asking only what you own or what title you hold, you begin asking a more meaningful question: who am I becoming? This perspective makes personal growth a lifelong journey rather than a destination. There is always another skill to develop, another book to read, another lesson to learn, and another way to become more capable than you were yesterday. That is what it truly means to become exceptional. Exceptional people are not born with extraordinary abilities that others lack. They become exceptional because they spend years improving, while many others stop growing. They remain humble enough to keep learning, disciplined enough to keep practicing, and courageous enough to apply what they discover. Over time, these small improvements accumulate into remarkable results that seem effortless to outside observers. Never allow yourself to believe that you have reached the end of your learning journey. The more you learn, the more valuable you become, not only to employers or customers, but also to your family, your community, and your own future. Knowledge opens doors that talent alone cannot unlock. It creates opportunities, expands possibilities, and prepares you for challenges you cannot yet see. As you continue building your future, you will discover that one of the greatest investments you can ever make is in your own mind, because increasing your personal value is the first step toward building lasting wealth. Chapter 11. Think about money like a winner. Wealth is first created in the mind before it reaches the bank. Many people believe that wealth begins with a large paycheck, a successful business, or a lucky investment. While these things can certainly help, they are rarely the true starting point. Lasting wealth begins much earlier, with the way a person thinks about money. Before anyone builds financial security, they develop habits of thinking that influence how they earn, spend, save, and create value. Money often follows a mindset long before it fills a bank account. One of the biggest differences between financially successful people and everyone else is that they see money as a tool rather than a destination. They do not believe money alone creates happiness, nor do they see it as something to spend the moment it arrives. Instead, they understand that money creates choices. It provides freedom to make decisions without constant financial pressure. It opens doors to new opportunities, supports the people they care about, and allows them to invest in a better future. Because they see money differently, they naturally make different financial decisions. This way of thinking is known as wealth consciousness. It is not about becoming obsessed with money or measuring success only by financial achievement. It is about recognizing that money is a resource that should be managed wisely instead of emotionally. People with wealth consciousness ask different questions before making financial decisions. They consider whether a purchase will improve their future or simply satisfy a temporary desire. They think about what their money can become instead of only what it can buy today. That mindset changes everyday behavior. Someone with wealth consciousness is more likely to build an emergency fund before upgrading their lifestyle. They are more willing to invest in education that increases their earning ability. They understand that financial security is created through intentional choices rather than wishful thinking. Small decisions made consistently often matter far more than occasional financial windfalls. Alongside wealth consciousness comes financial intelligence. Many people assume that earning more money automatically leads to greater wealth, but experience tells a different story. History is full of individuals who earned impressive incomes, yet struggled financially because they never learned how to manage what they earned. Income creates opportunity, but financial intelligence determines whether that opportunity grows or disappears. Financial intelligence begins with understanding a few simple principles. Spend less than you earn whenever possible. Save consistently, even if the amount seems small at first. Learn the difference between buying things that lose value quickly and investing in things that have the potential to grow. Understand that every financial decision involves some level of risk, and wise decisions come from learning before acting rather than guessing. You do not need to become a financial expert to improve your future. You simply need to become more informed than you were yesterday. Reading books about personal finance, learning basic investing concepts, understanding budgeting, and asking thoughtful questions can gradually strengthen your financial judgment. Like every valuable skill, financial intelligence grows through continuous learning and practical experience. Another characteristic shared by financially successful people is an abundance mindset. People with a scarcity mindset often believe there are only limited opportunities available. They constantly compare themselves with others, worry that someone else's success reduces their own chances, or believe wealth belongs only to a fortunate few. These beliefs create fear, hesitation, and unnecessary competition. An abundance mindset tells a different story. It recognizes that opportunities can be created, knowledge can be learnt, and value can always be expanded. Instead of asking why someone else succeeded, people with this mindset ask what they can learn from that success. Instead of competing over limited resources, they focus on improving their skills, solving meaningful problems, and creating greater value for the people around them. This perspective encourages growth because it replaces fear with possibility. Wealth also grows through one of the most powerful forces in life, compound growth. Most people understand this idea in relation to investing, but it extends far beyond money. Small improvements made consistently over long periods create remarkable outcomes. Saving a modest amount each month may seem insignificant in the beginning, but over many years those savings can grow into substantial financial security. Learning one new skill each year can gradually transform an average career into an exceptional one. Improving communication, leadership, or problem-solving a little at a time can multiply opportunities throughout an entire lifetime. Compound growth teaches an important lesson. Big results often come from small actions repeated consistently. Many people overlook these actions because they expect dramatic changes. In reality, wealth usually grows quietly. It is built through thoughtful decisions, regular learning, careful planning, and consistent improvement, rather than sudden breakthroughs. A good example is Ramit Sethi. Early in his career, Sethi focused on helping ordinary people understand practical money management, instead of chasing unrealistic promises of getting rich quickly. He encouraged readers to automate saving, invest consistently, improve their earning potential, and make intentional financial decisions. His own success grew steadily through years of creating valuable educational content, building trusted relationships with his audience, and continually expanding his knowledge. His journey demonstrates that lasting wealth is often the result of disciplined thinking and long-term value creation, rather than extraordinary luck. The same principle applies whether your goal is financial independence, starting a business, or simply creating greater security for your family. Every wise financial choice becomes another brick in a stronger foundation. Every new skill increases your ability to earn. Every thoughtful investment in yourself expands the opportunities available to you. Wealth is rarely built by chasing shortcuts. It is built by consistently making choices that strengthen your future. As you continue your journey, remember that money is not the ultimate goal. It is a tool that reflects the value you create, the decisions you make, and the mindset you develop over time. The healthiest financial habits begin in the mind, long before they appear in your bank account. When you focus on becoming more valuable, more knowledgeable, and more capable of helping others solve meaningful problems, wealth often follows as a natural result. That is why the next step toward lasting success is learning how to create greater value, inspire people, and expand your influence in ways that benefit both others and yourself. Chapter 12. Create value that people cannot ignore. The marketplace rewards people who solve meaningful problems. Many people spend years asking how they can earn more money, gain more recognition, or create more opportunities. While these are reasonable goals, they often begin with the wrong question. A better question is this: how can I become more valuable to other people? When you focus on creating value, many of the rewards you desire begin to follow naturally. Businesses grow because they solve problems. Professionals earn promotions because they make important contributions. Leaders gain influence because they improve the lives of the people around them. In almost every area of life, value comes before reward. Creating value has very little to do with trying to impress others. It is about making someone's life easier, better, faster, safer, or more enjoyable. A teacher creates value by helping students understand difficult ideas. A doctor creates value by improving health. A software developer creates value by solving everyday problems through technology. A small business owner creates value by offering products or services that genuinely help customers. Although their work looks different, they all succeed for the same reason: they solve meaningful problems. This principle applies no matter where you are in your career. You do not need to own a company or lead a large organization to become valuable. Whatever your role, you can ask yourself simple questions that change the way you work. How can I improve this process? How can I help my team succeed? How can I make life easier for the people I serve? Questions like these shift your attention away from personal gain and toward meaningful contribution. Ironically, people who focus on helping others often discover that success finds them more easily. The people who stand out are usually those who give more than what is expected. They look for ways to improve quality, solve problems before they become serious, and consistently deliver work that others can depend on. They understand that reliability is valuable because it builds trust. Over time, trust becomes one of the strongest foundations for opportunity. People naturally recommend, promote, and work with individuals they know they can count on. This way of thinking also forms the foundation of leadership. Many people believe leadership begins with a title, a corner office, or the authority to give instructions. True leadership begins much earlier. It begins the moment someone chooses to take initiative, instead of waiting for someone else to act. A person who steps forward to solve a problem, encourages teammates during difficult moments, or sets a positive example through consistent actions, is already demonstrating leadership. Leadership is not about controlling people. It is about helping people move toward a better outcome. Strong leaders create confidence by remaining dependable, making thoughtful decisions, and encouraging others to do their best work. They understand that success is rarely achieved alone. By helping others grow, they create stronger teams, healthier workplaces, and more meaningful relationships. One quality that strengthens leadership more than almost anything else is communication. Brilliant ideas have little impact if they remain trapped inside your mind. Whether you are leading a business, working with colleagues, or strengthening personal relationships, your ability to communicate clearly often determines the opportunities available to you. Good communication begins with listening. Many people listen only long enough to prepare their next response. Effective communicators listen to understand. They pay attention not only to words, but also to concerns, goals, and emotions. This deeper understanding allows them to respond with greater clarity and empathy. People naturally trust those who make them feel heard. Clear communication also reduces confusion and builds stronger relationships. Instead of assuming others understand your intentions, explain your ideas with simplicity and respect. Ask questions when something is unclear. Welcome different perspectives instead of becoming defensive. These habits make collaboration easier and create an environment where better ideas can emerge. Empathy is another powerful form of influence. When people know you genuinely care about their needs, they become far more willing to work with you, support your ideas, and trust your leadership. Influence is rarely created through pressure or authority. It grows through respect, consistency, honesty, and genuine concern for others. For this reason, opportunities often follow people whose character speaks as loudly as their skills. Integrity, reliability, and a positive attitude may not attract attention immediately, but over time they become qualities that others actively seek. Employers look for them. Customers appreciate them. Business partners depend on them. Friends and colleagues remember them. A good reputation is built slowly, but once established, it opens doors that talent alone cannot unlock. A powerful example of this principle is Howard Schultz. Schultz did not simply focus on selling coffee. He focused on creating an experience that made customers feel welcome and employees feel valued. By paying attention to quality, customer relationships, and company culture, he transformed Starbucks from a small regional business into one of the world's most recognized brands. His success came from consistently creating value for customers, investing in people, and communicating a clear vision that others wanted to be part of. The same opportunity exists for every one of us, regardless of our profession. Each day offers another chance to become a little more helpful, a little more dependable, and a little more valuable than we were yesterday. Over time, those qualities build a reputation that attracts opportunities naturally. People remember those who solve problems, communicate with integrity, and consistently make life better for those around them. Creating value, however, is only the beginning. Great ideas, strong character, and meaningful contributions achieve their greatest impact only when they are put into consistent action. The people who leave a lasting mark on the world are not simply those who know what to do. They are the ones who build reliable systems, execute with excellence, and repeatedly turn worthwhile ideas into meaningful results. That is where the true winner's edge is found, and it is the final lesson we will explore together. Chapter 13. Turn great thinking into daily results. Brilliant ideas change nothing until they become action. The world is full of people with good ideas. Some dream of starting a business. Others want to write a book, improve their health, build financial freedom, or create a better future for their families. Yet many of those ideas never move beyond imagination, not because they are impossible, but because they are never put into consistent action. Knowledge has enormous potential, but potential alone has never changed a life. Results belong to those who are willing to act. Learning, planning, and preparing all have value. But there comes a point when preparation becomes another form of delay. Some people spend years searching for the perfect strategy, waiting for complete confidence, or hoping the right moment will finally arrive. Meanwhile, someone with less knowledge but greater willingness to execute quietly moves ahead. Progress is created by action, not intention. This is where execution excellence becomes one of the greatest advantages anyone can develop. Execution excellence is not about working faster or harder than everyone else. It is about building a reputation with yourself for following through. It means finishing what you begin, honoring your commitments, and taking the next step even when excitement has faded. The people who accomplish remarkable things are often the ones who continue after the novelty disappears. Successful people understand that action is also the fastest teacher. You can spend months studying how to solve a problem, but you often learn more during 1 week of real experience. Action provides immediate feedback. It reveals what works, what needs improvement, and what should be done differently next time. Instead of waiting until every detail is perfect, winners allow progress to guide improvement. One important habit that supports consistent execution is reviewing your progress. Many people either work without reflection or spend too much time criticizing themselves. High performers choose a better approach. They regularly ask simple questions such as, what worked well? What could be improved? And what is the next important step? These questions keep progress moving without becoming trapped by perfectionism. Of course, consistent execution becomes much easier when it is supported by reliable systems. Many people rely on willpower to carry them through difficult days. The problem is that willpower changes from one day to the next. Some mornings you feel motivated, other days you feel tired, distracted, or overwhelmed. If success depends entirely on your emotions, your progress will always be unpredictable. Successful people reduce this uncertainty by creating systems that help them keep moving. They schedule important work instead of hoping to find time for it. They establish personal rules that eliminate unnecessary decisions. They create routines that remind them what matters most. Many also build accountability by sharing goals with trusted friends, mentors, or colleagues who encourage them to stay committed. Regular review keeps these systems effective because they can be adjusted whenever circumstances change. Think of a pilot flying a long-distance flight. The aircraft rarely travels in a perfectly straight line. Small adjustments are constantly being made because of wind, weather, and changing conditions. What matters is not avoiding every correction, but continuing to move toward the destination. The same is true of success. Your systems do not need to be perfect. They simply need to keep guiding you back to the right direction whenever life pulls you away. This leads to what can truly be called the winner's edge. Many people assume extraordinary success belongs only to those with exceptional intelligence, rare talent, or unique opportunities. While these qualities can certainly help, they are rarely the deciding factor. The real advantage often comes from extraordinary consistency. A person who improves by just a small amount each day eventually creates a gap that becomes impossible to ignore. Imagine two professionals starting their careers with similar abilities. One waits for inspiration before taking meaningful action. The other consistently completes important work, learns from experience, and keeps moving forward week after week. At first, their progress appears nearly identical. 5 or 10 years later, however, the difference can be remarkable. One has built expertise, trust, and opportunities through consistent execution, while the other is still waiting for the perfect moment to begin. A practical example is the story of an aspiring author named Rachel. For years she talked about writing a novel, but never made meaningful progress because she believed she needed long periods of uninterrupted time. Eventually, she committed to writing just 500 words every weekday morning before work. The daily target was simple, realistic, and repeatable. While others continued planning and discussing the books they hoped to write someday, Rachel quietly completed her manuscript within a year. Her success did not come from extraordinary talent or endless free time. It came from consistently following a simple plan without waiting for ideal conditions. Execution also requires accepting that mistakes are part of the process. No meaningful project unfolds perfectly from beginning to end. There will be setbacks, unexpected problems, and moments when results fall short of expectations. The difference is that successful people treat these moments as adjustments rather than endings. They improve the process instead of abandoning the goal. Progress matters far more than perfection, because progress keeps creating new opportunities to improve. As this journey through the book nears its conclusion, remember that ideas alone cannot transform your future. Vision without action remains a dream. Knowledge without application remains unused potential. Plans without execution remain unfinished possibilities. Real change begins the moment you consistently act on what you already know. Execution is the bridge that carries great thinking into everyday reality, and in the final chapter, you will discover how all of these principles come together to create a complete system for lifelong success, lasting wealth, and a winner's mindset that continues growing long after this book is finished. Chapter 14. Living the Success Blueprint. Winning is not a destination, it is a way of thinking. Many people imagine success as a finish line they will someday cross. They picture a certain amount of money, a dream career, a thriving business, or a major accomplishment, and believe that reaching it will finally make them successful. The truth is much deeper. Success is not a single moment that changes everything. It is the result of hundreds of choices, habits, and ways of thinking that quietly shape your life long before anyone notices the outcome. Winning is not something you eventually become. It is something you practice every day. Throughout this book, you have explored ideas that may seem different on the surface, but they all point in the same direction. They remind us that extraordinary results begin with ordinary decisions made consistently over time. A successful life is not built on one breakthrough, one opportunity, or one lucky moment. It is built by developing a way of thinking that continues guiding your actions regardless of circumstances. This is the true success blueprint. It is not a hidden secret, known only by a fortunate few. It is a collection of timeless principles that anyone can choose to practice. People who think with purpose instead of reacting without direction. People who make thoughtful decisions instead of impulsive ones. People who remain emotionally steady during challenges, continue learning throughout life, create meaningful value for others, manage their resources wisely, and consistently turn good ideas into action. These habits may appear simple, but together they create lives that are anything but ordinary. One of the most encouraging truths about this blueprint is that it does not require perfection. No one applies these principles flawlessly every day. There will be moments of uncertainty, mistakes, distractions, and setbacks. What matters is returning to the path whenever life pulls you away from it. Success is not built by never falling behind. It is built by repeatedly choosing to move forward. That is why creating your own daily system for growth is so important. Instead of hoping each day will naturally lead you toward your goals, intentionally shape the direction of your life. Spend time reflecting on where you are and where you want to go. Protect your mindset by choosing the ideas, conversations, and influences that strengthen rather than weaken your thinking. Continue refining your habits so they support the future you are building. Learn from mistakes without allowing them to define you. Look for ways to create value in your work and relationships. Make decisions that your future self will appreciate rather than regret. Over time, these practices become part of the way you live, rather than tasks you occasionally remember to complete. Growth stops feeling like something separate from everyday life, because it becomes woven into your daily choices. That is when lasting success begins to feel natural, rather than forced. It is also important to remember that success cannot be measured by money alone. Financial security certainly provides freedom and opportunity, but a truly successful life reaches much further than a bank account. A person may achieve impressive financial results, yet struggle to find peace, purpose, or meaningful relationships. Real success includes the strength of your character, the trust you build with others, the positive influence you have on your family and community, and the person you become along the way. When people remember your life, they are unlikely to remember every achievement or possession. They will remember how you treated them, the problems you helped solve, the encouragement you offered, and the example you set through your actions. Lasting success always leaves something valuable behind for others. Perhaps the greatest lesson of all is that the right time to begin does not exist somewhere in the future. Many people spend years waiting for perfect conditions, more confidence, more experience, or fewer responsibilities. Meanwhile, life continues moving forward. The successful people you admire once faced the same uncertainty. They did not begin because everything was guaranteed to work out. They began because they understood that progress is created through action, not perfect timing. Today you stand at the same point where every successful person once stood. You have a choice. You can continue following familiar patterns and hope life changes on its own, or you can choose to think differently, act intentionally, and apply what you have learned. That decision belongs to no one else. It belongs entirely to you. As you close this book, remember that the greatest transformation rarely begins with a dramatic event. It begins with a new thought, followed by a better decision, supported by consistent action. Those small choices gradually shape stronger habits, greater confidence, deeper wisdom, and opportunities that once seemed out of reach. With enough time, they create a life that reflects the person you have chosen to become. The path of a winner is not reserved for the most talented, the wealthiest, or the luckiest. It belongs to those who are willing to think before they act, learn before they assume, serve before they expect rewards, and continue moving forward even when success cannot yet be seen. Your future is not waiting for the perfect moment. It is waiting for your next decision. Walk forward with confidence. Keep learning, keep growing, keep creating value. Let your actions reflect the future you believe is possible. One day, people may look at your success and call it extraordinary. You will know the truth. It began long before the results appeared, the moment you decided to think like a winner before you became one. Conclusion. There was a time when every successful person you admire stood exactly where you are now. They did not have all the answers. They faced uncertainty, questioned themselves, made mistakes, and wondered whether they were capable of achieving something greater. What separated them from countless others was not perfect knowledge or extraordinary talent. It was a simple but life-changing decision to think differently, keep learning, and continue moving forward, even when the outcome was uncertain. That same opportunity now belongs to you. The ideas throughout this book were never meant to remain words on a page. They were meant to become part of the way you see the world and the way you live each day. A winner's mindset is not something you switch on only when life is easy. It is revealed in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in the decisions you make, the opportunities you notice, the challenges you choose to face, the value you create, and the actions you take even when progress feels slow. Over time, these small choices shape a future that once seemed out of reach. Remember that lasting success is rarely built through dramatic breakthroughs. More often, it grows from ordinary decisions repeated with purpose. Every thought influences a decision. Every decision shapes a habit. Every habit slowly builds your character, and your character becomes the foundation of the life you create. Day by day, you are moving either closer to the future you want or farther away from it. The direction is determined not by one extraordinary moment, but by the choices you continue making. As you move forward, resist the temptation to wait for perfect conditions. There will always be another reason to delay, another excuse to postpone your goals, or another voice telling you that the time is not right. But confidence is not something you discover before taking action. It is something you build by taking action. Every meaningful achievement begins with a single step taken before certainty exists. The courage to begin is often far more important than the confidence to finish. There will be days when progress feels invisible. There will be moments when plans change, obstacles appear, or results arrive more slowly than you hoped. Do not mistake those moments for failure. Growth often happens quietly, before it becomes visible. Stay committed to becoming a little wiser, a little stronger, and a little more intentional than you were yesterday. Those small improvements have a remarkable way of transforming your future over time. Most importantly, never measure your success only by what you own or accomplish. Measure it by the person you are becoming. Measure it by the integrity you show, the lives you improve, the problems you solve, and the positive influence you leave wherever you go. The greatest victories are not always seen on the outside. They begin within and eventually shape everything else. Your journey does not end with the final page of this book. In many ways, it begins here. The principles you have explored will only change your life when they become part of your daily thinking and your daily actions. Start where you are. Use what you have. Keep moving forward, one thoughtful decision at a time. Winners are never defined by where they begin. They are defined by the way they choose to think, act, and grow every single day. Your future success story has not been written yet, and the next page is yours to write.